Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored Never Boring. Here we are deep in the Christmas limbo, that space that falls between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve, when everybody is eating Pringles for breakfast and nobody knows what day of the week it is. I am currently enjoying some time with my family, but in the spirit of the season I thought I would upload a video inspired by the ghost of Christmas past. New subscribers may not know, but Always Bored Never Boring began life as a blog, which I started because I wanted to catalogue my extensive collection of old, out-of-production board games, and to throw a spotlight on more obscure titles. The concept evolved once I started making videos for YouTube, but I still have a love for vintage games and it's still a passion of mine to talk about them. My wife knows this, so often she will venture into charity shops and the darker corners of online trading sites in search of the most random, old and unusual games she can find, and it just so happens she found a few recently which she presented to me as a Christmas present. So today I would like to take a few minutes of your time to showcase 4 super retro games that it's very easy to imagine a family breaking out at Christmas. First up, we have Big Bully from Dennis Fisher. This is from 1972 and it's an all-action game that up to 4 can play. Honestly, this is my pick of the bunch and normally I would save it until last, but as I know most people click off these retro videos after a few seconds, I thought I would try to catch your attention with this glorious piece of artwork. Just look at that. Reminds me of the classic Pink Panther cartoons I grew up watching, or maybe the original Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's also actually a pretty accurate representation of the gameplay. This is a bullfighting inspired game, but it does away with all the distasteful elements of animals being injured and instead makes the bull the villain of the piece, a bad-tempered beast that likes nothing better than charging down anybody in its path, hence the name Big Bully. In terms of components, you get one bullfighting arena which has coloured quadrants and a ring of coloured circles that marks the path around the edge, 8 plastic barricades which you push up through the bottom of the board, and then you get 4 bullfighters, one each in colours matching the board's quadrants and coloured circles. Finally, you get the showpiece, Big Bully, a beautifully constructed friction-powered tin toy. Absolutely gorgeous. This bull wasn't working when I received the game, but a little TLC and some WD-40 and it was good as new. The aim of the game is simple. You place your bullfighter on the starting circle matching your colour, and all you have to do is go at least one time around the board and land on your starting space. On your turn you give Big Bully a spin and then you drop him in the red circle in the centre of the arena. Then you watch him go. He spins and charges and it's pure childish entertainment. If he finishes moving in a coloured quadrant, you move your bullfighter to the first free circle matching that colour. If Bully pushes or knocks over a bullfighter, they are removed from the arena unless they were standing on a space behind a barricade, in which case they are safe. Removed bullfighters are placed in the archway of the quadrant matching their colour, and they can come back into play the next time Big Bully ends its move in that quadrant. And that's it. No skill, no strategy, just a bit of silliness driven by dumb luck and a crazy tin toy. Beautiful presentation, a fun tactile element, and a fantastic table presence. I love it. And I have to say, it does remind me a little bit of Bugacula, a really fun hexbug game where your playing piece is sneaking around a castle where a battery-powered hexbug is constantly bumbling around and may randomly bump into you and take you out of the game for a while. Of course, Bugacula is more sophisticated and has a lovely modern aesthetic. But this has a tin bull. Game number 2 is one of the parlour games from HP Gibsons & Sons Limited of London. If you have ever had to sit through an obnoxious party game during the festive season, then you should think yourself lucky you weren't playing parlour games in 1925, or you might have ended up having to endure the novel, fascinating, entertaining game for all ages that is Jumblex. Here we have the yellow box, which is number 3 in a series of 4, and at the time of its release I am sure this was considered a jolly jape to finish off an evening of frivolities with the vicar and his wife after cognac and cigars. The box contains 12 sheets, each of which is printed with a pattern created from overlaying line art depicting 24 common objects. Each player takes one of the sheets and they have a fixed amount of time, to be determined by your delightful host, to find as many of the items as possible. After the time has run out, the winner is the person who found the most items. A most whimsically pleasing pastime, I'm sure you will agree. So if we look at this example here, we can see a toast rack. There's a church, I see a cricket bat, and I think I've already had enough of that. is starting to make Cards Against Humanity look like a good time. Our third game is from the legendary Peter Pan Playthings. This is Shake Numbers from 1975, and it's a Peter Pan Playthings super game. Must be good. This is a game for any number of players, and the recommended age is 6 and up. I've actually been playing it with my 5-year-old who has discovered a love of numbers, so I'm encouraging that. It's a very simple game. You have 10 shake numbers, which are basically dice with numbers on them, then you get 2 regular dice with pips and a dice shaker. On your turn, you roll all 10 of the shake numbers. You then roll the 2 regular dice, and you have to remove any number of the shake numbers totaling the value you rolled. For example, if you rolled a 9, you could remove a 5 and a 4, or a 1, a 2 and 2 3s. Some of the shake numbers have blank faces. These can be used as a wild, but must be used in conjunction with at least one actual number. So if you were trying to match a roll of 6, you could discard a 3 with a blank stating you were using the blank as the other 3, but you couldn't discard 2 blanks claiming they were both 3s. If you can match the rolled value, you roll again, and you repeat the process. This continues until you cannot remove any more shake numbers, at which point you add up all the shake number face values. Blanks count as 40 points. You make a note of the total, and play continues with the next player who rolls the shake numbers again. After a fixed number of turns, you all tot up your points, and the person with the lowest score wins. So it's not exactly much of a game. It's a very minor distraction, its strongest merits being there's no setup, play is quick and easy to understand, and it promotes math skills. Not something I would reach for normally, but as I said, I've been playing it with my 5-year-old, so it has some worth in that regard. And finally we have New Spy Ring from Waddingtons. Gotta love an old Waddingtons game. This is the international spy game for 2 to 4 players aged 7 and upwards, published in 1978. This copy has a nice retro W.H. Smith sticker on it for added bonus nostalgia. And I really enjoy this art on the box. It reminds me of the art from things like Magic E and Build Yourself a Word from the old Look and Read television series. See if you can spot the French spy on the cover. Anyway, this is a pretty straightforward game. Each player gets a spy and a bodyguard and a decoder with a coloured decoder strip. At the start of the game, 16 top secret tiles, or 12 in a 3-player game, are placed face down at the different embassies, and during the game players will move their spies around the board collecting these tiles. The tiles are divided into sets of 4, and the winner of the game is the first player who gets a set of 4 matching tiles. Very basic, but there are a few little wrinkles to the rules. One is that you can only hold a maximum of 4 tiles. You can pick up a 5th to examine it, but you must always put one back if you do that. You can place it on any empty embassy, not necessarily the one you are currently at. The second interesting feature is that when you roll a double to move, you don't move your spy. Instead, your bodyguard can immediately move to a space containing a rival spy, as long as that spy isn't currently inside an embassy or on their starting location. When you do this, you send the spy back to their starting location. You can then guess one of the tiles that spy has. If you are right, you get to keep that tile, or return it to another embassy. But now everybody knows what that tile is, which is important information. However, if you are wrong, the player you challenged gets to take one of your tiles without looking at it first. Additionally, your bodyguard now stays at that location until you issue a new challenge, serving as a roadblock that prevents any other spies from entering. In this way, it will gradually become apparent which sets each spy is trying to obtain, and players with good memories will start to recall where the different tiles they need have been placed. Finally, each player gets a decoder. Every time you obtain a tile, you have to place it on your decoder, and you are not allowed to move it from that spot unless you return it to an embassy on the board. If you ever want to check what is on the tile, you have a little reflective strip and you hold it under the tile so you can read it. It's absolutely not necessary to play, but it's a fun little gimmick, and I do love a board game with a gimmick. As with everything else we've looked at today, this is a very simple game, and it feels quite typical for the time, but it has some interesting elements. I think it's quite clever how the information regarding tiles gradually becomes more apparent. As more challenges are made, you develop a sense of what your opponents are doing, and because you aren't allowed to move tiles around on your decoder, players will gradually be able to make more accurate challenges. For example, if I challenge a player and guess they have an atom, which is correct, and then I place that atom in slot 1 of my own decoder, everybody at the table now has that information and will probably also assume I'm interested in obtaining the other atoms. Another interesting element is balancing the need to claim your own tiles against the need to prevent other players from getting theirs. You can only hold 4 tiles and you need 4 matching tiles to win, so at some point you are going to have to release tiles onto the board that other players need. Trying to do that without them realising is quite a challenge. And that gimmick with the decoders, that's just neat. But there we have it, 4 very different games, 3 from the 70s and 1 from the 7th Circle of Hell itself. If you have made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I love mixing up the content on my channel and I really appreciate you taking the time to check it out. If you've liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone, bye bye.